So we're officially recording on InStory Show, live morning inspirational fun chat videos. So I'm Devorah Spilman. I'm your host for the InStory Show and the founder of the InStory Way. Today, Janice Scissors is with me, and she's one of the featured speakers. Suzanne is a featured speaker, but couldn't make it right now, but you'll see her interview. So each day when I do a regular morning Facebook Live, and I've been doing it without Zoom, but now that I have speakers, I can do it on Zoom as well. And what I like to do each morning is kind of talk about what's been coming up, what I've been thinking about. And of course, now we're home, we're figuring out new strategies for how to bring our best selves forward during the coronavirus outbreak. And I've been talking a lot about what does it mean to lead from your lane? Like, where is the realm in which you have experience, something to say? What has helped you? So for me, it was funny, yesterday I had a talk with my homeopath, who's an amazing visionary Jewish spiritual leader and a homeopath. And if you're interested, I can refer you to her. But I said to her, you need to share what you know out into the world, because people need to hear your tips, because that's what you know about. So do you know what I mean? Like, everybody knows about something different. So one of my things my thing is to help people share their thing is basically the idea. So Janice, let's start a little bit with some of the content. So Janice is one of the in my InStory Way year-long program, and we had such an interesting conversation in relationship to the InStory Show, focusing on trusting your intuition, on what does it mean to be an introvert, and what does it mean to realize that? Like, what is it? And we really were into kind of an inquiry into it. And Janice, what I'd love for you to talk about a little bit more. We talked about it a little bit in the main interview, but like, what did you discover about when you start doing research on being an introvert, and then how you thought about it in relationship to your own life? I would love for you to share about that again, because one of the things we see is that our culture kind of extols the extrovert. And so just talk a little bit about what you do and where you live, and then some of your thoughts on being an introvert that I'm making be here on this show.
Well, right now I live in dreary St. Louis, Missouri, because it's cloudy again. We have had one day of sun in the last 2 weeks, I think. And with all the news of everything going on, that doesn't help. Of course, being in the house and working out of the house, being an introvert, I've always enjoyed that. That's because I like that alone time. I like the quiet time. And I know a lot of people need to be around other people. And that's something, so I mean, it's worked out for me in that respect. I know that with, as far as I've had my blog for like 12 years. And as far as marketing and things like that, a lot of times, because marketing is something that is important for everybody, obviously, that has any kind of business. And when you're an introvert, it's harder to get out there and put yourself out there. And I've learned over the years, and if I listened to all the experts, they were saying, be out there, do these Facebook Lives like you do. And that's something I'm not comfortable with. I'm doing these interviews with you and I'm getting better with it, but it takes time, but that's just not my comfort thing. And it's something I have to learn, but I've always tried to do things the way everybody said you're supposed to do it. And those were based on being an extrovert, where people are comfortable doing that, talking to people, getting out there, posting things all the time. And when you're an introvert, it's a little bit more difficult, because that's just not your comfort zone.
Right. So talk about what has helped you as an introvert to be able to do like this and to be able to be on an interview. You can talk a little bit about the whole InStory Way, what we do, because that helps people, but also, both that and personally and tips and so forth. Say a little more about what helps the introvert get out in the world at least a little, because you guys are brilliant. And like, it's not because you're an introvert. It's not like what you have to say is less significant. That if anything, it's the opposite.
It helps tremendously to work with somebody like you, because you've said you're an extrovert, but yet you always talk about with InStory Way is doing it our way. You're not saying your way is the right way. And I think there's a lot of extroverts that do say, hey, this is the way it is. And that's what I found over the years with marketing. This is the right way to do things. And if you don't do it, you're not going to succeed. But that's not true. And I think, we're learning. So working with people like you has made the difference, because it kind of gets me that, I don't feel like I'm being, not sure what the word would be, but just, being minimized as far as like my being introvert. And I do tend to be shy, and they are totally two different things. I happen to have both of them, because not all introverts are shy. And there are extroverts that are actually shy. It's a bit more, that's more behavior, where the introvert extrovert is something that you're born with, basically, your tendencies. But I think working with people who are more open to that their way is not the only way to do things helps the introvert say, okay, I can still succeed. I can get out here and talk, because you make it more comfortable for me to do it. And I don't feel like I'm fighting to defend myself.
Right. I thank you for saying that. And, it's interesting, because when I started the InStory Way, I did some research on introverts. I read Susan Cain's book and watched her video, as a start, because I realized that many people who come into the InStory Way and feel compelled to bring their message and their story out in the world are introverts. And you just bump up against this, like, no way am I doing that feeling. And I'm also, like you said, really committed to the InStory Way is finally doing things your way, that we've almost all been shut down for trying to do it our way. And so I would love for you to talk a little bit more about what it was like for you growing up, and also kind of the insight you had about the difference between being shy and being introverted.
Well, I think growing up, because we really didn't, it wasn't as, I don't know, we didn't talk about being introverted and extroverted growing up. So, I mean, most introverts were looked at as shy and not introverts. And there, like I said, there is a difference, and I happen to be both, but it's kind of like they wanted to keep to themselves. I mean, growing up, I had my parents, and I'm a middle child with an older sister and younger sister, and they were all extroverts. They liked to get out there. They had friends. They liked to do things. And I remember my father saying, well, why don't you go out and play with your friends? And it's like, I had a couple good friends. It wasn't like I was a total loner. It's just that they may have been busy with something else. And when you only have a couple friends, it's like you just don't want to get out there and just be doing things with friends just to be doing things.
Right.
I wanted my alone time. Because I had the shyness also, it made it harder to just get out there and start talking to people. So I had the combination of it. But, growing up with, an extroverted family, they didn't understand that it's like, I even remember with high school, I came home, I was exhausted. I would have some quiet time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I even took a nap. And, what 16-year-olds go home and take a nap? Well, I just thought, well, what's wrong with me? I also had dyslexia, so school was a little more of a struggle, and I did well in school. It took up more effort for it. But that's the whole thing, is that, I didn't know I was an introvert at that time, and nobody explained that. Well, being in school around people all the time exhausted me, because then an introvert needs that alone time just to recharge. And that's what I did. But I was labeled more as being shy and not socially, very good at doing social activities and things like that. So, I mean, it was the definition of what I thought I was really not. And as I've discovered with being an introvert, a lot of those childhood stories I look back on, it's like, okay, I needed that alone time to recharge. And it wasn't because I was shy or I was socially awkward or anything like that. It was more of just being an introvert.
Right. I know. And it's so important to learn this, because then you realize, oh my gosh, like there was nothing wrong with me.
Right.
Wasn't honored for who I was.
Exactly. Exactly.
And, I had discovered this because one of the InStory shows was focused on empaths and highly sensitives, which often goes along with introverts, but people with those qualities also went through the same thing of what's wrong with me. And, then we did the show on how to come out of hiding, and dare to be seen. And all of those steps and trusting your intuition are all tools for extraordinary humans who are empathic and sensitive and introverted and brilliant and creative and amazing, to bring that wondrousness out in the world authentically. Because that's the thing, I think, in order to survive, all these sensitive introverted women had to shut it all down and act like everyone else. And I think what's so exciting now in our times is that we're able to find each other and find things like the InStory way, where you get enough safe support to find how can you share your message, right, authentically, as opposed to trying to fake it. So share a little bit more about some of the things that you feel more able to do authentically now.
Well, as I'm learning, I just want to say that, when you had that series on the empaths and sensitive people, that led me to more research on myself, because I do have some of that. And then, of course, I joined InStory Way, and then we did the last one on coming out of hiding, and now this one. So, it's kind of like a series. You are bringing these type of things out for people to learn. And I love to research things. So, of course, I'm sitting there learning more and more about myself. And I think because I've been writing a blog for 12 years on clutter, and I've always been very safe with it, my writing. It's like, just how-to things like that. And I always wanted to get into more writing, as far as writing how I feel and getting more into the deeper, insightful ways of how our minds work and why we do this, hold on to our clutter, or why we let go, can let go of some things. And I just want to be more inspirational in my writing. And I think this is, as I open up and I learn more about myself and not feel that it's not safe to do it, then I can hopefully get more insightful on my writing and more inspirational, and not so much the how-tos, not play it safe so much.
Right. And here's the thing, our world is less when introverts don't share what they know, because many introverts are the ones who have profound new ideas, have researched things, have integrated things, have something very deep to share, and we need you. And I say this all the time, because there are a lot of times where people feel like, I've done this whole big rich life, I've done all this stuff, but I haven't done the real thing that's me. I haven't really brought out that authentic voice, that inner calling. And I think now we have this incredible opportunity. I've felt it with bringing InStory online the whole time, but now because of the coronavirus, so many more people are being forced to use this online domain in a very deep way. And that is just perfect for introverts. Right? Because you're connected, but you're also quiet. You're not in a chaotic situation.
That's true. And I think for a lot of introverts, and I know for myself, is that being around people, you have to think quickly in responding to them and interacting with them. And from a lot of my research, which is true for me, is that a lot of the introverts, you have all these thoughts, you have all these good things, but it's like amazing how many times I think 5-10 minutes later, oh, I have a great response for that conversation. And it's like, we're on to something else. And that's how introverts, a lot of them think, because it's their brains, they're just sorting all those thoughts out. Whereas with the online thing, if they're just responding, even whether it's a Facebook post or any email or however they're doing it, and even text, I think that helps a lot of introverts to actually communicate better, because they have a chance to reread it, make sure it makes sense and that it's clear. Whereas when they're speaking, a lot of times they're not always sure it's coming out clear, so that lowers the confidence. And they have great ideas, they have thoughts, it's just they're not quick quick on their feet with thinking, basically, as far as expressing it.
Right, 100%. I always tell, like when I interviewed you or, or Kay who's watching us in the group or other introverts, I always say, write down notes. And even if we don't go through them exactly, so if you're an introvert and you're going to be interviewed or you need to give a talk or something, write it out first, write the talk. You don't have to memorize it. But the fact that you've done your work and that you can go back to it if you lose your train of thought, that it gives you this like ground to stand on. And it makes a big difference, so that you can still speak, from your heart, but you have something to base it on. Don't you feel that helped you, Janice? And like now we're able to do this more easily because we did the other interview and you did your research, right?
Right. I mean, I wrote out a whole outline and everything because it does keep my thoughts on track, because for me, I tend to think one little thing leads to another thing, and then I'm off in some foreign direction, and trying to stay on track. And that's where having this outlines, or a lot of people use their little index cards or whatever they need to do as far as keeping them staying focused with it. Because I know for me, and research is saying that part of the problem with a lot of introverts is that they have so many colorful thoughts in their brains all the time because they are internal. That's, it's not that extroverts don't think, it's just that it's a different processing. And that's the main difference. And in that respect, in that with the introverts, with so many things, is that they can tend to go off into other directions. Mm-hmm. At least I do. Mm-hmm. And that helps me keep, focused on what I want to talk about. So that gives me more confidence and be able to be here and talk and know I'm not going off in some crazy direction, like I said.
Right. And also a lot of what I have discovered is that each person, you find your way, your style. And I talk a lot about how you get to have yourself back, because so mm-hmm. many of us have like shaped ourselves into something that we had to do to survive. Right? Whatever we had to do to survive our families, to survive school, and to survive the outside world often required us to shut down creativity, shut down intuition, shut down channeling, shut down your introverted nature. Like all of that got shaped into this, put away and shaped into a box that you could survive your family with. And now we get to have you get to have it back. I mean, you have to do the work. You have to be in a safe place. Part of why InStory is small, it's very safe, and you get an opportunity to show up in front of a very safe world authentically. And I think it's being asked of us. I mean, don't you feel a sense, Janice, of kind of being called to share more authentically about what it was like for you in order to help others?
Definitely. I mean, I feel like I can open up about expressing these thoughts verbally and in writing and being more creative ways to just be more authentic, like you said, because I think the world is actually changing a little bit. I think we're starting to be educated, basically, and knowledge is really strong, and that introverts have a lot to be offered. And I know some of my research again talked about like a lot of these open office concepts that is great for extroverts, and introverts can work well in it, but they still need sometimes a place they can go just to have that quiet time to recharge, right, and get all their thoughts in order and things like that. So I think as we're opening up about it, sharing these stories, mm-hmm. that it helps others to recognize that people are very different and they're on a spectrum. I mean, just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you're on one extreme here and you're on one extreme as an extrovert. Right. There's a whole spectrum that people are on. Right. And just honoring all those different ways of learning, honoring those different ways of working, makes it better, because you can interact in a better way and take the best skills of everybody, really.
Right, 100%. I mean, I am an extrovert. I love to speak and I love the flow of it. I can be spontaneous, but if I don't go and be by myself a little bit every day, I also don't function well. I think, mm-hmm. This whole show has been about how to trust your intuition. And in order to trust your intuition, it requires quietness. It requires a pause. And so I think introverts have traditionally had more access in a sense to it, to that quiet receiving of it, but then they didn't share it with the world. So, and for us, I'm like sharing with the world, but if I don't take that inner time and that quiet to recharge myself to receive, then what I have to offer doesn't have the depth.
Right.
Right. So like we all need that quiet. We need it for different reasons.
Exactly.
I think, like I don't need it because I got worn out by being in public. Maybe I do a little bit more that now that I'm older, but I 100% know that we all need to get that quietness to be able to trust and even hear that intuitive voice, that guidance, right? Like, don't you find that if you don't quiet yourself down, you don't hear that?
Definitely. I mean, part of my problem, and I'm not sure other introverts have this or even everybody does, but is a lot of times it's like, it's not just the quiet, the physical quiet around me. I have to quiet my mind down.
Right.
And I have to, because it goes constantly, I have to quiet that down to hear my intuition a lot of times. And over the years, I've ignored my intuition because, as we said, you have said that a lot of people shut it down. And now I'm trying to relearn that, okay, these things, my gut feeling, as they say, or that little voice in your head. I mean, it's got a lot of different other terms, but it's really your intuition. It's like you don't know why you're thinking these things. All of a sudden, it's like, don't go there because it's danger. And you're not really reasoning. It's your intuition telling you before your reasoning ever kicks in.
Right, right.
And I look back on a lot of things over my life, and like the intuition, it's like, okay, how would I know that? But I ignored that I didn't even identify it as intuition. And I think, I forgot who it was. So was it Leslie who was talking about, being impregnated with her courage and stuff, or somebody else was talking about with knowing what the baby was, the sex of the baby. And I forgot who had done it. I've listened to your things on Zoom here. And it's like my doctor told me with both of my children that they were going to be girls. I was carrying like a girl, and I knew it was going to be a boy, and both of them were boys. I don't know how I knew. I mean, I didn't even go through ultrasounds and all that back then. So I didn't even have anything. He just was saying the way I was carrying and this and that. So, I mean, this was an educated guess on his part, but we never had ultrasounds because it was back in the early 80s when they were just starting, and my doctor didn't believe in that. He was an older doctor. So, but I see now that we're talking about this in the series, I start looking back on a lot of things that I've done. My intuition is what told me to do these things, but I never acknowledged that it was that.
Right, 100%. And that's so true for so many people. And learning to trust your intuition is part of the work that we're doing to support each other, the work of the show, the work of the InStory way, because when we trust that intuition, we are able to bring so much more out into the world. So, all right, I like to end by doing just a little healing guided visualization for us all, everyone listening, to send good healing energy to each other, to yourselves, and to the world. So, all right, so we'll just switch modes, and everyone just close your eyes for a moment and begin to notice your breath coming in and out. And really allow yourself to feel that shift to stillness. This is what we were talking about, to receive intuition. This first process I'm leading right now is a great way to do it. It's the first step of the InStory guided process that has the acronym STATE, Stop, and Breathe is the first, and has a few parts to it. Stop and breathe and feel that shift to stillness. And feel a sense of breathing bigger than your physical self. And then allow your awareness to shift to that flow from above. And feel your connection to God, to Source, the universe. And feel that pure light from above coming down to the top of your head, filling your whole body, your whole being with light, love, healing, blessing, guidance, clarity, down through your feet into the earth, grounding you in the earth. And breathe up that solid, rooted, comforting energy of the earth into the center of your being, and be aware of being in that state of connected flow. And then one more time, feel that light from above coming down, and put an extra level of attention and awareness on this light flowing into your whole body and your whole being, and filling you with a protective, healing energy, that it's filled with love, and that it's filling you with light, and that it's actually strengthening your immune system, strengthening your energetic body, your physical body, and filling you with this light, and allowing you to feel that healing, that guidance, that clarity, and grounding you in the earth. And one of the things that's been coming to me is to feel a sense of having strength and courage, and that you can have the courage to trust yourselves. It's one of the things that I've been hearing women talk about from InStory, is feeling that they have more courage. So feel yourself receiving that. And now expand that healing light out to all the people in your home, all the people close to you, to your family members, not in your physical home, and then just spread this light outward, that all these people are receiving this very healing light and love. And you ask it as a prayer, that we're asking God to bless everyone with this healing light, and feel it go out horizontally, outward to your community, and then outward all through our world. And then at the same time, I like to use the image of it coming down vertically. So feel a sense, just make up in your mind that there's like this, almost like a cloud of very healing light above the whole world, and that it's going to rain down, flow down, healing light and healing blessings. And could see it as rain, as light, as anything you want, and let that come into every person. They're coming into you, into every person. You can use your imagination to make up what it is, and let yourself imagine that our entire planet is now being healed rapidly and completely. All of the humans and all of the earth and all of the beings upon it. And that healing is coming directly to you and those you love, and to all who need it. And ask, may it be done, may it be so. Ask God, ask in your own way from the highest source that we be blessed in this way. And feel that this blessing is around you, and that you are a blessing. And be courageous, be strong, trust your intuition, trust your gifts, and share them with the world. Now breathe yourself back into the moment. Feel yourself coming back into this moment, into your body, into this space, and take the time to get quiet, to feel this healing around you. It's very easy to listen to everything out in the world and contract our energy into a place of more fear and more doubt. But I would love for you to feel more expanded. And I speak a lot about having the courage to share your gifts. And now more than ever is an opportunity for us to do that. So Janice, thank you so much for just being a brave introvert, to having the courage. Is that one, one of the things that someone, I think it was Rona, said that in being in the InStory Way group gave her more courage. And I thought I'd never really talked about it like that, but I'm curious if that's part of one of the things that you feel also.
Definitely. Having the courage to do these interviews, having the courage to be on your Facebook here and your Zoom Live. I think I did it one other time, and I haven't had the courage to do it on my own yet, but maybe someday.
Right. or not, right? Like that might not be your form. Sometimes for an introvert, just being on with another person makes it so much easier. So you don't have to hold that energetic space and all the content all by yourself.
It makes a big difference for me.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to even do videos on my own just to do it. And it's like, I kind of like freeze up. I'm not sure what to talk about. Where talking with you, you kind of lead the conversation, and it makes it where I can, you know, react to it and
right. I
be
know
part of it.
Right, exactly. And so when you go to instoryshow.com, you'll be able to see the second week or the women who are in InStory, who have shown the courage to show up maybe for the first time live in this online domain. And I am saying all this to inspire you who are watching to have the courage to share what you have to offer. And if you're feeling too scared to do it, then reach out to us. Reach out to Janice. If you're watching her in the InStory show, reach out to me and we'll help you. That's part of it, is we can't do this alone, right? Don't you feel that the women in the group are such a big help, Janice?
It has been a tremendous help for me. I've had conversations separately with other people, and they've given me a lot of courage and strength to do these things. And also just knowing that everybody, even though we're all very different in the InStory way, that we all can talk to each other authentically and not feel like we're going to be judged.
Right.
And that's a big thing, especially for people who don't have the confidence, who don't have the courage to just put themselves out there because they've been shut down over the years. And it gives us a way to at least put it out there. I've put some of my writing out, you know, in our group, and I've had tremendous response, which gives me the courage, as you're saying, with the courage, to even try it on my own blog beyond the safe blogging that I've always done.
Right. So let us be an encouragement to all of you to share your gifts with the world, to have that courage to come out of hiding and dare to be seen and trust your intuition, because I do think the world needs us. So Janice, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you so much for listening. And excuse me. So remember, everybody, to trust your intuition. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, everybody.
Bye.